No edge on Thursday, so no bet on Thursday. We never force action. Small card. Lakers lose at Denver, fall down 2-0 in that series. One of the worst performances I've ever seen from LeBron. We'll get into that in a little bit here. As always, guys, please make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment below. Helps show support to the show. John, interesting day last night in the NBA. Obviously, Lakers now down 0-2. And then we have another game tonight, Heat Celtics game 2. And obviously there's that trend that's just probably the most consistent playoff trend in sports. 21-1 to the home team down 0-1. Tough to go against that.
Real tough to go against that. Before we go into that, let me just get back to yesterday. Guys, you sick degenerates, don't DM me like so we took a day off. And not that we took a day off, we just didn't have a bet. Look, that Lake-Denver game could have went either way. Those numbers were solid. We took +7 in game 1 because it was far enough off the 5. We made it just a tinge lower for the revenge because the Lakers lost the first game. So we're like at 4.5. But 4.5 to 5.5, just not enough room to bet. So, yeah, couldn't get on the Lakers yesterday. If they foul Brown in those last seconds that he's got the ball dribbling out, he's got to only make 1 or 2 free throws for the cover. The line's tough. I'm telling you guys, when we get down to the playoffs, it's only 1 game a night. It's real tough. Only betting with an edge. You could have flipped a coin on that one and come up with as good as I could have on that one. These lines are solid, just like tonight. We don't make. If you guys go to my power ratings, you've got to say, you got to love the Heat again today because my numbers only have Celtics 6.4 points better at home than the Heat are on the road. But Ben, give them that stat one more time that if the home team loses game 1,
21-1 straight up, 19-2 against the spread, 7-0 this playoff, 6-1 against the spread this playoffs. That's as consistent as a trend can get. It's as good. I mean, the reasoning there for it is not randomized. There's obviously just that natural human element being down 0-1 on your home floor. There's a mental edge in that game for that team. If you're the road team, stole a game, you already have that kind of in your back pocket. You might be thinking about going back home. So it's as good as this trend gets, I think.
Guys, we use these trends. So you've got a revenge from game 1, home revenge, playoff home revenge. I mean, this is as revenge as it gets. Lose game 1 at home, got to win game 2. I will say this. The one team that has covered this playoff series, has been the Heat. Game 2, after winning game 1 at the Knicks, they sit Jimmy Butler. The line went up to 10, and they stayed within the number. I believe that was 111, 106. So they are the one team that has covered this year. But 21 of the last 22 teams that lose game 1 have gone on to win game 2 with 19 or 20 of the 22 covering. Not going to buck that stat. So my number says 6.4, but I'm closer to the 9 when you put in the spot. The spot is as big as what the ratings are. Remember, the ratings that's your base. That's your base number. Then everything else comes into play. Big, huge comeback win for the Heat in game 1. The spot here is all Celtics, but the points won't allow me. If let's just say if the numbers, my ratings would have said Celtics are 9 points better at home than the Heat are on the road, I'd say let's lay 9 because the spot is that big. So even though the numbers say that the line is right, the spot takes over for it. It's going to be the same thing. We'll get a little ahead of ourselves because we don't do the podcast on the weekend. Yep. So tomorrow, if you guys are looking at my ratings and you say Denver's 38.4 on the road. We've talked about it. Denver not as good. Denver much better at home. Had a little bit for under 500 on the road. So 38.4 on the road. Lake is 40.8 at home. So there's only a 2.4 difference. And you're like, oh, you got to love the Denver. Well, I don't love Denver. Again, so 2.4 difference, but down 2-0. Now the spot belongs to the Lakers. Now these teams have played 6 times this year, 4 in Denver, 2 in LA. Home team has won all of them. Lakers won both at home, I believe, covered by combined 29 points, the 2 in the regular season. So my number is more like 4.5. This number came up 4, immediately went up to 5, went as high as 6 this morning, and now is settling in at 5.5. So to me, I think the number's a little on the high side, even though the spot is all Lakers, but I don't want to buck that trend. Tonight's Celtic game, you can't get me on this game. This is a game, like I said, you can't tell. Maybe do a little something at halftime, but there's going to be no pregame bet on this game, Ben.
Yeah, it's Miami or nobody with the trend, or excuse me, Boston or nobody with the trend. Can't go against that. And all their home games have tended to have been blown out. It's the ones they have won. Boston here coming into this game. I mean, the game one, the scoring, the tempo was there. I expect this game to still be high scoring. I like the over here. They adjusted on the total. They went from 211 up to as high as 216. They brought it down a point from there. Miami has not, and in the past, they've been known for their defense, and Boston to an extent as well. But Boston's kind of gone away from that identity a little bit. They showed it some of that Philly series, but Philly just plays slow. Boston wants to run and shoot and get out in transition. That's their identity of their offense and their team. Miami has just met that in game one. They didn't try to go against it. Same thing with Milwaukee. They went toe-to-toe with Milwaukee with that pace, and that whole series is very high scoring. I expect that to continue in game two. I think Boston takes care of business, but I think we're going to see a lot of points still.
Look, I think so too. He went insane in game one. They knocked down 16 of 31 three-pointers. Don't count on that happening again. Look, they did that in the Milwaukee series. In the first series, they just shot lights out. Playoff Jimmy went insane. They scored $124 per game against Milwaukee. We talked about it. Milwaukee, no sieve on defense. Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez. These are two first-team defensive players. A guy named Giannis, pretty good at defense also. So they've got a solid defensive team. Just Miami was just out of their mind shooting. That's what they came with that game last night in Boston. Going to be hard to replicate in game two. Again, that's why I can't lay the spot. Can't lay the spot with the Celtics. So I don't make the number that high. But Celtic Heat not being able to replicate that game, there's no way they're going to be able to do it. And the record going forward of 21-1. Just not going to buck that trend. So we'll stay off that game. Tomorrow looks like a tough spot also as of now. We'll see which way the line fluctuates. But plenty of baseball. Before today's baseball card, same kind of thing yesterday. More guys putting on my page. We put a little something yesterday. We were talking about the one game that was the hottest game of the day, that had the most movement, and that was the Baltimore Orioles. So that game opened up minus 135 on the overnight. By the time we were doing our podcast yesterday, it's probably around 155, 160, whatever it was. It had already moved too much. So I actually said they got a couple of guys, Trout and Ohtani, either one can hit a 3-run homer. Well, just as you know it, both guys hit home runs. Angels get the money. Again, the right side was the Orioles, not because I said, but because the line moved 25 cents that way. That was the right side. But again, we save a bet. We're not on every right side. We're at the right side, and we try to get there at the right number. Minus 160 wasn't the right number. So one guy said, "Well, why didn't you bet the Angels? Why didn't you bet the Angels? Because the other side was the hottest side. It wasn't high enough. If it had gone a little higher." I've done that before. I'll go right against the hot side guys, but it's got to go to the right number. So they didn't go high enough to get on the Angels, but the right side was the Orioles. You'll hear me use the phrase often, right side, wrong result. Does it mean because I'm on it? But if I'm on it and every fucking sharp guy in the world is on it and the line only moves one way, that was the right side. We just didn't get the winner. When you're betting underdogs, 90% of the time, we're going to have a lot of those situations. We may have one today in the first game. So right off the bat, first game, Diamondbacks, Pirates. Galen, lights out pitcher. Oviedo, horrible. Who's John on? I'm on the Pirates. I'll tell you why I'm on the Pirates. Yeah, Galen's been great. Arizona's looking like Arizona right now, if the season's over, is a playoff team. But numbers just too high. Pirates now, after a terrible losing streak, they've won 2 of their last 3, which they scored 8 off Rodriguez, who was pitching as good as anybody in baseball in their last game. So 2 of 3 wins in their last 3 games. Diamondbacks, they come from the Oakland series. They're hot. They've won 5 of their last 6. But Galen on the road this year, for as good as he's been, just 1-1 with a 4.84 ERA. So again, while Arizona belongs to be a favorite, they got a huge pitching advantage and a big road favorite, just not this big a road favorite. They on the overnight, this line come out at minus 155. They had it up to 185 this morning, just too high. I took 168 on this game. This line now is down anywhere from, say, minus 1 to plus 150 to plus 154 is about the highest you could take. DraftKings could take plus 150. I'm on the Pirates. It's just a half a bet. Tough to buck Galen. But like I said, just give me enough room where he hasn't been great on the road. Pirates, maybe they're coming out of that horrible slump a little bit. I just think it's worth the shot at that number for a half bet.
Yeah, teams win and lose in bunches, and obviously Pittsburgh has just been the prime example of that this year. Started off untouchable, and then going just the coldest of cold spells. Are they completely out of it? I don't know, but getting 8 runs in a game against Rodriguez, that's impressive in itself. So maybe they are turning to that way. Gallen is as good as it gets in baseball right now. 6 of his last starts were quality starts, so never ideal to go against them. But like John said, the road struggles have been there. He's given up, I believe, 4 runs or more in 3 of his 4 road starts. So there's going to be a chance for Pittsburgh to be in this game. And Oviedo, he's another one of those guys been hot and cold. Really, really good start to this year. Had a couple of rough stretches. Was good at Baltimore. We'll see if that carries over. Definitely dog or nobody in this game. Just not as high on it as you are.
And once again, I'm not the only sharp guy on this game. This game was as high as 168 this morning. So on the overnight early, all the money boosted Arizona all the way up. All the money this morning is on the short game all the way down. Take that next one, Ben. You got Cubs and Phillies.
Yep, Cubs and Phillies. Stroman versus Suarez. Stroman, he was absolutely tossed at Minnesota. Gave up 6 runs in 2 2/3. Rough outing there. Prior to that, he had 3 quality starts. He was good against the Phillies last year, 2 runs in 13 innings. Then it's Suarez. He comes back this year for his first start, gave up 3 runs in 4 innings. Not great, but really not horrible because it was at Coors Field. So you got to take that with a grain of salt, especially with his first start back. He had a quality start versus the Cubs last year. Both these teams have been struggling a little bit. You have Phillies coming off 4-game losing streak. Cubs coming in 2-11 their last 13 road games. Pitching edge to Stroman. I lean here to the Cubs. I also thought that was maybe their get-right spot when he was pitching at Minnesota, and then they lose, they give up 16 runs. So lean here to the Cubs. Cubs are no one for me, but can't back this team. 2-11 on the road.
Yeah, 2-11 their last 13, and the last one was a tough one. 6-1 lead at Houston. They get walked off in the 9th inning. I think Houston had 2 or 3 in the 8th, then to finish off the job of the 9th. In a bad spell. Bellinger's missed the last couple of games. He'll be questionable, and they're pitching a lefty anyway, although he has hit better against lefties this year. Horner, who's been on a 10-day IL, is expected to get activated. And that's, since he's gone on, coincides with that losing streak that they've been on. So we'll wait to see if he gets back into the lineup today. As Ben said, Stroman had been pitching great baseball, especially on the road. Last 2 years, always better on the road than he's been in Wrigley. But he got annihilated his last start out. 2 teams that are struggling right now. The number's right there for me in this one. I'll stay off this one. We'll look at lineups and line moves later.
We have Dodgers at Cardinals. Cardinals stay red hot. 16-8 win yesterday. They have now come into this winning 9 of 11, scoring almost 8 runs per game, hitting almost 300 this week. Dodgers that dropped 2 of their last 3 since the 6-game win streak, but they still been playing pretty good baseball. Gonsolin versus Matz. Gonsolin's been pretty good. 3 earned runs and 11 innings last 2 start, 12 Ks, 1 walk. Did struggle at St. Louis last year, gave up 5 runs in 5 innings. And Matz, who's horrible start of the year, been serviceable last 2 starts, 4 runs in 10 2/3. So he's been decent. And he's been a bit better at home as well. I like the over in this game. We got a lot of runs last night. Both lineups coming in hot. Gonsolin, bad history at St. Louis. Matz can give up 5 runs any given night. This would be, as far as the side, Cardinals are nobody with the dog. I see a bit more value there. I think we're going to continue getting runs with these 2 teams.
Only thing that goes against that is the Dodgers just batting 199 versus left-hand pitch. Just have not been able to figure out lefties. Look, you got some lefties in there. You got Freeman, you got Muncy, two of your big bats. So yeah, they're struggling against the lefties. Gonsolin pitching real good, and they need it right now. Urias just hasn't been right, especially on the road. Everybody pitches good at Dodger Stadium. Even since good at Dodger Stadium,
Yep.
so on the road, he's been horrible. They just put May on the injured list. Buehler, out all year. All of a sudden, Dodgers struggling for arms. So they're going to need Gonsolin to pick it up tonight. A 16-8 beatdown. Dodgers are going to want to respond off that. $1.20 on the road. Pretty much what I make it against a red-hot Cardinal team. Looked like they slowed down for a couple of games against Milwaukee, scoring 5 runs. But that's bookended by 18 they put up against the Brewers in the first game this week. And 16 last night. Don't want to buck this lineup. We've talked about it. Cardinals were playing. They were underperforming. You've got a lineup there with Goldschmidt, Arenado, Gorman, and Tommy Edman, who actually is going to be questionable tonight. He left last night's game. But his lineup was too good to be playing as bad as they were. They're getting back on pace. Cardinals are doing what they do every year. They put that long stretch together, and then they take over that division. They did a little so with Milwaukee, taking 2 out of 3. They wiped out Boston. And now let's see how they do against the Dodgers after a big win last night. 120 Gonsolin at Matt's line is the right line. I'll stay off of this one unless something major happens.
Yeah, that's some tough series too. They kind of were the end to the Boston hot streak, and Dodgers coming to this series red hot. They might be the end to that as well. So they're playing good ball. Marlins at San Francisco, really interesting pitching matchup. Alcantara versus Desclafani. Desclafani, he's been struggling. Last 2 starts, 8 runs in 12 innings. Alcantara, last start, gave up 6 runs in 7 2/3. He's obviously having a down year after the Cy Young, but both these pitchers obviously capable of giving you a quality start in timeout. Then you have Marlins. They're coming off a win against the Nats. They're playing good. They've won 4 straight. And then you have the Giants come in. They sweep the Phillies, so they've won 3 straight. Really weird pitching matchup. It's kind of hard to know what you're going to get out of either guy. Slightly into the Marlins, just because if you're going to get a 50% chance at a quality start from these two, might as well have the dog money. But this is a game I'm staying away from. Interested to see who shows up tonight.
Yeah, both teams starting to play a little better, and two pitchers. This is the Cy Young from last year. He's having a real rough time. He'll have a good outing. I think he's getting back on his feet, and then he'll have 2 bad ones. Desclafani was lights out until his previous 2 prior starts. So pitching matchup, I'll give the Cy Young, the winner from last year, a little bit of an edge, but not much more than that. San Fran at home, they just swept their last series over the Phillies, so maybe they're coming alive a little bit. Marlins, still 29th. They just won 4 in a row, but 29th in scoring. They're having a problem getting the runs across the plate. Game is right there, -110 San Fran. That's where it belongs to be. No edge in that one.
Orioles at Toronto. Toronto coming off the series with the Yankees, losing 3 of 4, but they're still 13-6 at home. Orioles, they lose to the Angels yesterday. They split that 4-game series. They're pretty good on the road, though, 13-8. It's Gibson versus Kikuchi. Gibson's been struggling, lost his last 3 starts, gave up 12 runs in 17 2/3. And then 1 start against the Jays last year, 7 runs in 5 innings. Had some road struggles going on this season as well. Kikuchi's been solid. The last 3 starts, gave up 10 runs in 14 2/3, but he's been good at home, 2-0, 2.87, and horrible numbers against the Orioles last year. This is another one of those games leaning to the over. I mean, you have pitchers both been getting lit up a little bit. Kikuchi was better earlier this year, but a bit more lately. Bad numbers against Baltimore. Neither team, though, really putting up runs. So this pitching matchup suggests over. Orioles bats were a little bit quiet in that series there with the Angels, scoring 5 runs per game. And then you have this Blue Jays team scoring just 3 runs per game in that series with the Yankees. Lean to the over, lean a little bit to Toronto, but not loving it. They're not looking the best after that series with the Yankees.
I'm going to wait to see what happens with Vlad. Vlad sat out the last 2 starting lineups. He did pinch hit last night, giving him a chance to play today. $140, big number against Baltimore Orioles. Orioles 13-8, as you said. Yeah, look, Toronto was 12-3 at home prior to the Yankee series, and then they dropped 3 or 4 there. Neither pitcher going great right now. Maybe give Kikuchi a little bit of the pitching edge. $140 is a big number. With no Vladdy, I'd be leaning towards Baltimore. We'll see where that line goes.
And it's A's at Astros. Waldichuk. Don't know how he gets it done. A's have won his last 4 starts despite giving up 16 runs in 21 innings. So 7+ ERA, but he is the A's winningest pitcher. And then you have Belak going for Houston. He's been decent. They've lost both his starts. He allowed 4 runs in 9 2/3. 18 hits, though, giving up a lot of hits. This is a Astros team finding stride. Another one of those teams started off slow, getting better and better each day. They didn't dominate this matchup last year as much as you'd think. 12 of 19, so nothing crazy. Won 7 of 10 in Houston. Can't really back Oakland, but for whatever reason, Waldichuk gets it done. So I wouldn't, this for all you degenerates out there looking to lay a big favorite, I wouldn't do it with Houston today.
Houston's starting to turn it around. We were talking about that Cubs just before. They were down to the Cubs 6-1. They turn around. They come away with a 7-6 win. And you say that they really didn't dominate them, but they win 7 out of 10. When you win 7 out of 10, that equates to 33, on the line. Mm-hmm. And that's what the game is, and that's what it belongs to be. That they're absolutely a 2-1 favorite over here. Houston, as I said, used to turning it around. Oakland, we've been saying this, historically bad. Most of their pitching staff with a 7 or worse ERA. Not looking to back the big dog here. And I just feel that this is a fair line of maybe a tinge high, but at minus 240, take back 215. Just not stealing nothing with Oakland in this spot.
That's Royals at White Sox, Greinke and Kopech, 2 of the other bottom tier teams here in the AL. Kansas City, they won their last 2 against the ice cold Padres. They've been decent on the road this year. They're on the back end of this trip. Then you have the White Sox coming in. They've been playing a little bit better. They're 3-3 on this homestand, hitting 284 this week. Greinke versus Kopech. Greinke's really tough to back on the road. 0-2, 7.71 in 4 road starts. At home, I'm always open to Greinke as a home dog. I think it's one of the better values you can get. They're going to win about half his home starts, typically at plus money. But just here in this spot, can't do it. Kopech here on the road, at home, has been decent. Didn't have the best numbers against Kansas City last year, but no interest here in Kansas City with Greinke on the road. Can't lay that. White Sox are no one.
Yeah, actually, the sharp money's already hit KC in this one. So I had an open 141 on the overnight last night, and this right now you're down to anywhere from minus 120 to minus 125. So a little KC money showing up. I don't want to back Greinke on the road, as Ben gave you those stats. White Sox, you think they're going to start turning it around? They got a spot yesterday to sweep with their ace. Saw on the mound who had great numbers, but they couldn't score yesterday to get beat 3-1 by the Guardians. So every time you think they're starting to put a little momentum together, they're really not. KC, just another horrible team. Somehow. They went 2 of 3 at San Diego, though. How bad is San Diego? Talk about them later. But the number now is beat up. I thought that the plus 131 plus 130 on the overnight had a little value. Again, just not ready to get behind Greinke, but now absolutely not. They may have taken it a little too low.
And it's Twins at Angels. It's just a really good spot for Minnesota. They're playing the Dodgers, so already in LA Wednesday. They lose that game. They drop 2 of 3, scoring 5.3 runs per game. They've had some road struggles, 4-10 the last 14 on the road. But they got the day off yesterday, no travel. Then you have the Angels coming in. They played yesterday at Baltimore, cross-country flight after the day game. So great spot here for Minnesota. Pitching edge to Minnesota. 7 of his 8 starts for Ryan have been quality starts. Last 3, 2 runs, 18 innings, 21 Ks, 3 walks. Been pretty damn lights out. And then Detmers, he was better his last time out. 2 runs in 5 innings. Was getting roughed up before that. The spot to me is all Twins in this. Pitching edge is all Twins. I think it's worth laying a load favorite on this one.
Always tough to lay that road favorite, but I can't argue it right now. Ryan is lights out is the word for him right now. Minnesota's getting some real good pitching. Gray, Ober has pitched real good since coming back, and Ryan is pitching great, keeping them in games. They're starting to pick up their hitting a little bit because they were absolutely horrible in the beginning of the season. Problem here, Twins just hitting 221 again versus left-hand pitching. Detmers had a better outing his last time out. He'd been crushed before that. To me, it's a fair number. Ryan should be $1.20, $1.25 on the road. That's pretty much what it is. I'll lay off this one.
Then it's Brewers at Tampa Bay. McClanahan on the bump today for the Rays. They're coming back from a 5-6 trip, but they are dominant, 19-3 at home. Brewers, they've dropped 2 or 3 at St. Louis, and then coming off that series, the bats kind of went cold there after sweeping Kansas City. And Hauser on the mound, he's made 2 starts, gave up 5 runs off 15 hits and 8 2/3, and just has road struggles last season. Really tough to go against Tampa Bay at home, especially with a guy who struggles on the road. I will say the Brewers won all 4 meetings last year. There is a bet on this game I'm going to be taking, just kind of wild card. Brewers won all 4 meetings last year. 3 of them were by exact score, 5-3. One of them was 4-3. Going to throw a sprinkle here on a 5-3 plus 3,000 today, just because numbers are numbers. And if it happened 3 times last year, why not? Because if it goes 5-3 today and I don't have a correct score on that after looking at that yesterday, I'll be upset.
Ben, good luck. I don't see the Brewers scoring 5 runs today. We took a shot with Burns, who had been pitching great against the Cardinals, and Liberatore shut them down for 5 innings. McClanahan coming off a tough start against the Yankees, but that was on the road, and that was to the Yankees, who all of a sudden the bats are hot. They can't hit lefties. Now batting. What are we batting for the year? 221 versus lefties for the year. Was that the Brewers? I'm sorry. 216 versus lefties. Yelich has missed the last couple of games. He only hits 220 versus lefties anyway. Don't see them scoring. McClanahan, much better at home. Was he 3-0, 1.57 ERA at home? So his one bad outing was against the Yankees his last time out. I think he gets his chicken soup with a Brewer team that just can't hit lefties today. I'm not laying, obviously, 240. Just don't think the Brewers will get the amount of runs to hit you 3,000, but I'll keep my fingers crossed for you.
Yeah, have to take the stab there. We'll see how it goes. Yankees at Reds, next one. The other game, I'll lean a little bit to the over in this matchup. Schmidt versus a little bit of a bullpen game here, it looks like, for Cincinnati with Lively going. He's had 1 run in 5 1/3 and 2 relief outings this year. Schmidt tagged him for 7 runs his last start. He was a bit better the prior 2. This is home dog and nobody with Cincy. Yankees coming off 2 tough series with Tampa Bay and then Toronto. They take 3 of 4 at Toronto. 2 teams will be battling for the division. So a little bit of a letdown there, but they're still scoring runs. So I expect this game to be high scoring. We'll see if that continues here in this matchup. Neither pitcher, obviously bullpen game for Cincinnati, throwing lights out. So lean to the over and lean to Cincy in this one.
Yeah, I had to make a half bet on Cincy, but just would love to have a real pitcher in there for Cincy and make this a big bet. Just as Ben said, you got Yankees coming off 2 straight tough series, 2 tough divisional opponents they'll be battling with for playoff positioning throughout the year. Now you got to make that trip from Toronto down. Always remember that's a different trip. Got to go through customs, that whole different deal. Cincy, they had the day off. Cincy, not bad at home, 12-9 at home.
Yep.
Yeah, they're not great on the road. 10-10 this year, just 42-39, winning 99 games last year. Not a great road team. And Schmidt's he's been horrible and even worse on the road. 0-1, 8.76 ERA. Don't like having a bullpen game for Cincy, but we won with a bullpen game with Cincy against the Mets last week or 10 days ago or so. I'm going to come right back with it here. I made it a half bet. I made this a half bet at $1.45. The line has gone up since then. Goes up anymore, I'll put the other half bet in. I'll take a shot. Just a bad spot for the Yankees with their worst pitcher out there against a team that plays good. Look, Reds have an average offense. Reds right now batting .248 as a team, scoring 4.4 runs per game. That's an average major league offense. Throw in a terrible pitcher, a possible letdown game on a travel day. Can only like the Reds in this one as the home dog.
Yeah, also kind of weird with games like this. Just, Friday night game, it's Cincinnati. They get the Yankees in town. There's going to be a bit of a different home crowd for a team who probably doesn't have too many exciting home crowds. So a little bit extra home edge there, too, for Cincy tonight. Then it's Detroit at Washington. Boyd versus Irvin. These are 2 teams we like to bet on a lot with Tigers and Washington, usually a lot of value. in this matchup today. I don't see too much value in either. I feel it's a bit of a coin flip. Irvin versus Boyd. Irvin, third career start, he was roughed up. Prior to, he was good. Allowed 1 run in 10.2 innings pitched in his prior 2 starts. Mets got to him. And then and Boyd, he's been struggling. 15 runs, 18 hits in 13 innings. This is slight lean here to Washington. Not a game I want to get involved in, though. Tough to get a read on either pitcher, really.
Yeah, Irvin, after 2 good starts, like Ben said, they get smacked around. So we'll see what he's all about now in the 4th one. Boyd, last 3 starts, just absolutely hammered. What's worse for Boyd, Nationals destroying left-hand pitching this year, 2-7. So count on the Nationals getting some runs. Tough series against the Marlins. They get swept away. Let's see if they can turn it around. Just not a good home team, just 8-14. Same thing last year. Finished with a better road record than they finished at home. So if you go to my ratings, you say, John, how could you have Nationals better on the road? Because they are. They just are. The stats. The stats speak, guys. But yeah, today, like I said, would have to give the advantage to the Nationals in this one. Detroit coming off that tough, getting shut out 8-0 in a game that they get to have with their ace on the mound. He gets banged around and they gets blanked. Look, Detroit's another team, just can't score. Last in major leagues, 3.49 runs per game. They're hitting just 192 this week. So you got to give the bat edge to the Nats. Would be Nats or nobody in this one. Just not an edge on the line.
Yep. Tough game all around there. Then it's Guardians at Mets. Mets might be picking up a bit. They won 2 of 3 against Tampa Bay. Rays, granted, were on the back end of that trip. They had the big rally win. Interesting pitching matchup. Quantrill versus Carrasco. Carrasco spent 11 years with Cleveland. Will be his first time against them. He's also returning from an elbow issue he had earlier in April. We'll see how he looks. And then Quantrill, he's been good. 5 of his last 6 starts were quality starts. Always good value backing him. This is Guardians or nobody. Yes, Mets might be turning it around, but I'm not going to be betting on a pitcher returning for his first start against a guy who's giving you quality starts. This is Quantrill and the Guardians or nobody. Despite those bats are ice cold there for Cleveland, so we're going to need some kind of run support. Hopefully Carrasco is struggling in his return.
Yeah, just give me a second. I'm checking some questionables. What I'm trying to get on is Guardians here. If Ramirez comes back, White Sox series, he's on bereavement leave, and you've got Naylor, who actually leads the team in home runs and RBI. He's missed the last couple of games because of hamstring. If they're in the lineup, and only if they're in the lineup, I'll be on Quantrill in this one. I talked about it yesterday. I thought the Mets come from behind win, on Wednesday night, guys, could be the turnaround that they needed. Now they come up with another big win against the best team in baseball, the Rays, yesterday. So maybe that's just what they needed. But this is a bad spot. As Ben said, we never like to bet on these pitchers coming back. Carrasco's been out for a while. He wasn't good before he went out. Quantrill, going back to last year, I love to bet this guy. I see value in him all the time. He's solid. He goes out there, gives you a quality start. I mean, problem here is Cleveland can't hit. 29th in hitting, 29th in run scored, or 28th in run scored. But that's why I need the 2 hitters in there, Ramirez and Naylor, unless this game goes much higher. It's Cleveland or nobody, though. Can't want the Mets, even though they may have turned it around. Look, Alonso's getting hot. He's hit a home run in each of the games in the Tampa Bay series. Marte questionable with the hand. Doesn't look like that hand's been right ever since the end of last year. So we'll see what the lineups say. But yeah, it's Cleveland or nobody in this one.
And Seattle at Atlanta, interesting young pitching matchup. Miller and Elder. Miller has just been unreal to start his career. 1 run in 19 innings, 18 Ks, 1 walk. And then you have Elder. Last 2 starts hasn't been as good. 3 runs in 10.1 innings, but 4 of his 8 starts this year have been quality starts, and he's been very consistent there for the Braves. Pitching edge, obviously you could argue the experience factor there for Elder, but the way Miller's starting, you got it maybe slightly to him. And then right now you have Seattle coming in. They're playing decent. They're 3-3 on this trip. They won 2 of 3 against the Braves last year. Atlanta coming back from a long trip. They won 2 of 3 at Texas. This would be Seattle or nobody for me. This kid Miller has been special.
By his stats, you can't go against them. So it's got to be Seattle or nobody. I mean, those are in 3 starts. He's been near unhittable. We'll see what happens today when he goes up against a real solid hitting Atlanta squad. Little high on the number, but still not enough to get me to jump all over it. This is the Atlanta Braves. We talked about it yesterday. Atlanta Dodgers right there for the second or third switch spots with them. Second or third best team in Major League Baseball. One of the top hitting squads. Solid. Seattle or nobody, but would have to take. If I was going to jump on this one, I wanted to take 140 with the Mariners or more. So I wouldn't be taking this number.
Then it's Rockies at Rangers, big number in this game. Perez, he's been struggling a little bit here for Texas. Last couple starts, 11 runs, 4 homers, and 8 2/3. And then you have Kaufman going for Colorado, who has been miserable in the AAA, 7+ ERA. Last couple starts were a bit better, but he's going to be making his debut. We'll see how it goes. Colorado does well in this matchup. They meet a lot. They've won 8 of the last 11 meetings. They won both at Texas last year, 3 or 4 meetings last year in general. Rockies coming in. They won 3 of 4, scoring 6.3 runs per game. Obviously, Rangers now leading the majors in scoring. This is an over or nothing game here. Really want to bet against Texas with this big number. Just don't know what you're going to get at Kaufman. Perez can't back him at this price. He's just been too rough. So over or nothing, and the Rockies are nothing. Don't love backing Kaufman in his debut.
Yeah, look, Perez was great all year last year. Made a lot of money with Perez, undervalued. I thought he was undervalued this year. We had him as a dog at Seattle. He got roughed up, but Texas got the money. Now he's got banged up twice his last 2 starts, but both were on the road. At home, pretty much dominant, 2-0, 154, just 2 starts, but just every bit as good as last year. Colorado, just 239 versus left-handed pitchers this year, and pitiful, 228 on the road. You know they hit great at home, not so much on the road. Big number, but put those stats in with a pitcher that's been getting slaughtered at the AAA level, and now you bring him up against the highest scoring team in the major leagues. I'll stay off this one.
And it's Boston at San Diego. And if anyone out there is laying the Padres as a favorite today, I got concerns for you. They are just so bad. What is it? Lost 7 of 8, scoring 2.6 runs per game, hitting 192 this week. Not backing him, not laying him, not even on my radar yet. Obviously, anything can happen in a couple weeks from now. The value could turn around, but I see no value in San Diego as a favorite, not hitting. Snell has been good, coming off 3 straight quality starts, 7 runs in 18 innings. Hasn't faced Boston since his Rays days where he was a better pitcher, but he was lights out against them, 6-0, 1.15 and 7 starts. And Paxton looked decent in his first start back since 21. Just can't lay this Padres team as a favorite.
No. Red Sox or nobody. We talked about it yesterday as we were giving out. Ben gave special mention to Padres as one of the worst teams. Little 7 of 8, scoring 2.6 runs a game. Hitting just 192 this week. Last in the majors, batting 226 this year. The only thing they do hit lefties a little better, 256. Machado, the small fracture in his hand. They've yet to put him on the IL, so I don't know what that means. I don't know if you're trying to play this guy, but look for Machado to be out. Now, Boston, they were red hot. St. Louis cools them right off. Seattle comes into town, and they absolutely destroy them the last couple of games. So they're back to being hot, hitting 293 this week. Second in the majors for the year, batting 272. But a little bit similar to the Rockies. They crush the ball at Fenway, move out of Fenway, not so much. Just 235 on the road. That's the only thing that's keeping me from betting the Red Sox right now at this number. That and Vertigo, questionable. He should play. And Machado, I can't see how he's playing with a fracture in his hand, but they haven't ruled him out either. We'll wait for the injuries. We'll wait for the line moves. But as Ben said, it's definitely not San Diego at a price one of the worst hitting team in the majors right now.
Yeah, it's so crazy to think. If you were to go to, all 30 MLB GMs at the start of the season and, with these rosters set and say, hey, which lineup would you take? Everyone's taking the San Diego lineup. I mean, it is just crazy the underperforming we've seen from them. Guys, that's the 15-game MLB card. That's the Eastern Conference Finals Game 2 tonight with the Heat and the Celtics. So far, no bet there. Could be something added at halftime. And obviously, we're not here on the weekends. In order to get the most information for the weekends, go to the website, download the app, howtobeatthebookie.com. And John, you got anything else? We got a lot of sports coming up this weekend.
A lot of work to do. Got to get back on the want to kill the look. The last 3 Sundays, we're 10-1. Sunday's been our day. It's always a great day. Some stars are going to sit. Guys are going to get rest.
Mm-hmm.
Always a good day on Sunday. With no podcast, become a member. That's all I can tell you. Sunday alone is worth the price of admission. Guys, we give you a preview on every game, not just the games we bet. So you might see a game you take last night. We didn't actually give it bet, but maybe you saw something in there that says, "Oh, this stat I like that to put you on a winner, or maybe keep you off for losing." Not only that, you get the ratings. Nobody has better ratings than me. You can make the line straight from my ratings. So we don't just say, "Hey, bet this team, give us your money." No cash grab here. Real sports information. Throughout the day, we update the previews. There's an injury we find out when lineups come in. So if you read the stories at 11 o'clock in the morning, the previews, you don't want to check throughout the day, because as we get the lineups, we get them out to you. Still working on our getting the injuries on the app out to you guys. Haven't perfected baseball. NBA was perfect. Still working on the baseball. So I know you're getting some notifications and you're saying, well, why this guy and not that guy? It'll get there. The app, but like I said, baseball, we're working on it and we'll get it. Other than that, we'll be working all weekend. I'm expecting a big weekend this weekend. Let's make some money.
Let's make some money, John.